When so much is taken, what remains? With so much gone, what continues? When strength vanishes and body fails, what part persists? Perhaps it's the deepest part, the part that believes.
Yes, it is.
Believe means to me that I can basically do anything that I want to do if I put my mind to it and work hard at it.
From the time he stepped on a football field in Avenel, New Jersey, in Pee-wees, Eric LeGrand made people believe. At Colonia High School, he grew into a two-way player, four-year starter, and full-time force. His senior year, he had 115 tackles and scored 12 touchdowns. It was then LeGrand developed a ritual, one he shared in the summer of 2010, a ritual involving a word that would become his second signature.
I used to always hit the EL because Eric LeGrand, for the initials for in Believe, used to always tap that.
A second-team All-State linebacker, LeGrand chose to stay home and play for Rutgers. With his size and strength, coaches moved him to nose guard. In 2008, his freshman year, he played immediately.
Hodges can't get away from Eric LeGrand, who drags him down at the 20-yard line. Then a sack for LeGrand.
The staff also saw another role.
I played special teams all year, kickoff and kickoff return, where I basically found my home at.
He was on our kickoff team. He was our leading player on our kickoff team. So that tells you a little bit about a 275-pound man who's your go-to guy on your kickoff team.
We're here at the Meadowlands, the new Giant Stadium. We're out here ready to go, being focused, and we're going to keep on chopping all day long.
Eric LeGrand, 6'2", 275-pound junior from Avenel, New Jersey.
The weather was perfect for football. There was 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. We're running down on the field and going down there to make a tackle in a big game, just like I've done hundreds of times before.
Oh, what a great open field hit by Eric LeGrand, who is shaken up on the play.
It felt like a flash grenade went off. Everything went silent in slow motion for a minute, and then all of a sudden I was on the ground. And I tried to get up and I couldn't move. And I was sitting there like, what's going on? I can't breathe right now. And then I just blacked out. And they explained the whole thing. You fractured your C3, C4 vertebrae, and you were paralyzed. So I'll never be able to come off the ventilator, never be able to eat solid foods, never be able to walk again. They told me I'll never be able to live a normal life. I believe if we put the funding to it, you'll get these people, including me, out of these wheelchairs, and that's what I'm going to continue to do, to raise awareness and try to raise money through Team LeGrand of the Chris Frandana Reed Foundation, so I can live my dream of going back to MetLife Stadium, getting back up and walking, running, or whatever I can off that field.
We talked to Eric LeGrand, former Rutgers player who unfortunately was paralyzed in 2010 trying to make a tackle in a game against Army. What have doctors told you about your ability or your efforts to try to walk again?
You know, things have come back for me. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I'm still working hard to get there. That's trying to get back on my feet, and leave everything else in God's hands.
That day can't come soon enough.
Eric LeGrand is on a mission to create a new life for himself. Faced with obstacles most would deem insurmountable, his notion of winning and losing has truly taken on a different meaning.
Push. Come on.
But where others might see despair, he sees hope.
I really believe that this happened for a reason. I'm supposed to do great things with this situation.
Inspiring others everywhere and fighting for a future he can see just over the horizon.
And when I'm done with my time, it's over to inspire everybody. I believe I will walk again. And when I do rise from this chair, I'm gonna go back onto the field right where I got hurt. I'm gonna lay right back in that position and get up and walk off that field and said, I finished that play.
LeGrand.
I appreciate that, guys. Sitting back there listening to that video just always, takes me back to that time, that moment where it happened. It's crazy to think it's been 6.5 years now since that day, October 16, 2010. But, I want to take you guys back to that day, but also lessons I've learned over these past 6.5 years, and just the way newfound appreciation on life that I have now, since this accident, how so many blessings have happened to me since this accident. But like I said, I want to take you back to that exact day as I was explaining in that video. It was, we just had tied the game up versus Army Black Knights, 17-17. It was going back and forth that entire game. Our defense was playing pretty much that whole entire game, and I remember there was 5 minutes left in the game, so we had just scored a touchdown. And I said to myself on kickoff, all right, let me make a big play for my team so we can try to get the ball back and maybe have 2 minutes to score for the offense, try to win the game. So on that game, I was facing a double team, which means 2 guys were coming right at me as soon as the ball was kicked off. And on that particular kickoff, I was able to get right through the 2 guys. So I had a good 30, 40-yard head start at the guy I was going to make a tackle on. So I'm running down the field, and I'm saying to myself, how do I want to make this tackle? I know it's going to be a big collision because of the distance, that I had, to get speed to make this tackle. And I said to myself, do I want to use my head or do I want to use my shoulder? And everyone knows when you play football, if you're going to use your head, you have to keep your head up. So I said, you know what, let me use my shoulder on this tackle, and I'll keep my head totally out of it. I don't know if you saw in the video, but my teammate got down there about a half a second before I did, and he tripped the guy up. And when he tripped the guy up, the guy's body turned in the air. And as I put my head down thinking it was going to go on the side of his rib cage or the side of his shoulder pads, it actually turned right into the crown of my head. And the back of his shoulder blade hit the crown of my head. And there's a lot of scientists say it was like Usain Bolt running full speed into a brick wall, the collision with his speed and my speed going into each other. And I remember hitting the ground instantly going and feeling I knew it was a big hit because I heard the crowd go, ooh. So I tried to get up and actually celebrate with one of my teammates, Deron Harmon. He was looking down at me. And after that, all I could move was my head and my neck just like this. And I was just like, uh-oh. And then all of a sudden I felt like I couldn't breathe. So I remember the trainers come running out, and they're like, Eric, is it your head or your neck? And at the time, all I could say was, I can't breathe. That's all I can get out. It sounded just like that. And they're asking me, can you feel this? Can you feel that? And I'm like, I can't breathe. From there, they brought my head coach out. And I remember my head coach, Greg Schiano, comes over to me, and he looks down and he goes, E, you have to pray right now. And honestly, when he told me that, I'm thinking my life is over. I can't move. I can't breathe. And now my coach is telling me, to pray. And that's what I started doing. I started praying for a gasp of air and things like that. But at one point at a time, when they were trying to, just get my face mask off and everything, I closed my eyes and I said, this is it, this is the end of my life. I said, all right, God, take me at ease. And as I closed my eyes, nothing happened. I kind of, started panicking again, so I opened them back up. And I still couldn't breathe, but at this time, they were putting the little bodyboard under me to lift me up onto the cart. And for some reason, when they lifted me up to put me onto the cart, I caught a gasp of air for a second, so I said, all right, maybe I just knocked the wind out of myself. I'll be all right. In a few minutes, and I got a full body stinger. I've had a stinger on my shoulder where my shoulder went numb before. I'll be all right. Let me give a thumbs up to the crowd to let everyone know I'm going to be okay. I wanted to give that thumbs up to the crowd to let everyone else, be okay. I felt like a 1,000-pound center block was laying on my hand. From there, I get to the end of the end zone, and they had my mom and my sister down on the field. And my mom's hysterical, not knowing what's going on. So they let me see her real quick, and I told her, I'll be okay, everything's going to be fine.
So they put me into the ambulance, and I was ignorant to the fact of what the oxygen mask actually does for you. I never had one on before. And they put another oxygen mask on, so I'm thinking, all right, once they put this on, I'll be able to breathe again. Let me try to take a deep breath in. I went to take that deep breath, and still I couldn't breathe on my own. Nothing. The oxygen mask was doing it for me. I kind of scared myself so much that I passed out. And I only remember bits and pieces of when I got to the hospital, and this injury happened on a Saturday. Now, I don't remember really any much until Wednesday. But I do remember getting to the hospital, looking up, and getting carted down the hallway, looking up at a bunch of lights. But then I blacked out. I woke up, and I was in a room now filled with a bunch of doctors, but it sounded like they were speaking a different language to me. It was crazy. So I blacked out one more time, and then I woke up again. And I woke up, and I was in that same room now with just a bunch of monitors and sounds going off. And that's all I remember really until Wednesday. When I came through on Wednesday, I remember waking up to my room with a bunch of signed helmets, jerseys, footballs, anything that you can think of, you can name it. People reaching out to me, wishing me well, all the way from the Rutgers community to all the way to the NFL guys, all the way just to the world. I remember I was getting letters from people in Australia and China. It was crazy. So many people just showing me support. And I remember that Tom Coughlin stopped by. He was the head coach of the Giants. He came by to show his support. He sent over the rookies at the time. It was Jason Pierre-Paul and his crew. They came by, to wish me well. And Andy Reid was the head coach of the Eagles. He came up to see me. So, all these people coming up to see me. It was just that positive attitude in the room. It was, nice to see everybody, And people like Mr. Jackow and all my friends, they were coming to see me. And I remember that slightly, and he can tell you this too, when they first came in the room, the first thing I said to him, I said, "Where's the party at tonight?" And he looked at me crazy and was like, "E, I think you need to take it easy for a little bit." But like I said, I was so highly medicated and everything, I really don't remember much. But it was still, when I came through, it was nice to see everyone coming out to support me and just being there wishing me well. It was, it was what I needed to jumpstart everything to get me to where I am today. But as time was going along, I kind of had realized, now with my injury, that I wasn't going to be playing football anymore and things like that. And it was now focused on me getting healthy so I can get into rehab and get back to where I needed to be. They took me to Hackensack Medical. And it was a big adjustment for me because, I went from a big football player being able to do, feel like I was on top of the world to now having everybody having to do something for me. The nurses, everyone there, and just having to get used to everybody. It was a big adjustment for me. So I stayed at Hackensack for about 3.5 weeks, and I remember it was now time for me to transfer over to Kessler. But I said to myself, I don't know if I'm ready to go over into this inpatient rehab where I was going to be in Kessler and West Orange. I'm still falling asleep in the middle of conversations on people. I'm not sure if I'm ready for this move yet, but everyone was pumping me up and motivating me like, "E, we got to get you over there so you can get back on your feet. We got to get you starting the therapy again. You can't lay in the hospital any longer." So remember, it was November 3rd of 2010, I believe it was a Wednesday. And they're like, "All right, E, we're going to move you this morning." And like I said, I woke up that morning, I knew in the back of my head that I wasn't ready for it yet, but everyone was, like I said, pumping me up, so I said, "Let's do it." I remember getting over to down Kessler, and I was completely terrified. I'm getting carted down this hallway. Everyone's just looking down at me. All these new faces I couldn't see. Like I said, I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything. I'm on a ventilator that's keeping me alive. It's one of the scariest moments of my life. So it's finally to my room, and they brought everybody in to meet me that day. I remember the CEO came in, then my therapist started coming in, the administration started coming in, the nurses started coming in. I was going to be taking care of me. And no lie, the last dude that came in there was about 5'4", 120-pound Jamaican guy. And he looks at me and goes, "I'm going to be taking care of you, man." And I look at him, and I look over at my mom, and I say, "Hey, Ma, you got to get me out of here. If it's going to be the guy that's going to be taking care of me for the next 5 months or so." And, of course, she was like, "Eric, calm down," things like that. But little did I know he was going to become a lifelong friend and teach my mom how to take care of a quadriplegic. But I'm looking at this tiny guy like there's no possible way. Now I'm completely terrified, where I'm at in this spot. But he ended up leaving the room, and I ended up getting to relax a little bit. My family came up and everything to, just be there with me during this. But Rutgers was actually playing that night, which was weird because usually we play on a Thursday, Friday, or Saturday. But they were playing that Wednesday night down in South Florida, and I was kind of amped up because I got to pick out the jerseys for the team. They were wearing the white jerseys with black pants and the red helmets. So I was getting to see my teammates out there. So I was excited for that. So I remember just taking it easy until the game came on, and I started watching the game, and they were going back and forth all game long. But then the fourth quarter hit, and then I started getting real anxious and real jittery. I remember I was laying in the bed, and I was asking the aide, I'm like, can you pull my shoulder over to the right? Bring me back over to the left. Can you put a pillow under my arm? Take the pillow out, put a pillow under my leg. Take it out. Every 5 minutes, I just couldn't get comfortable, couldn't sit still, and everyone's trying to calm me down, like, Eric, just relax. And just had those anxious jitters in me. I couldn't sit still at all. I remember, unfortunately, Rutgers ended up going on to lose that game by a touchdown. I went to sleep right after because it was just a long, exhausting day. It was like 11:30, 12 o'clock. I remember I went to sleep. I wake up about an hour and a half later, and I'm on a stretcher. And I remember my mom told me my eyes were bulging out of my head, but it felt like I was cross-eyed. My vision was completely blurred, and I remember waking up feeling somebody smacking me in my face, saying, Eric, wake up, wake up. But it didn't sound like a male or a female. It actually sounded like a demon, like, Eric, wake up. And I remember I said, hit me again. And it was my mom. She smacked me right across my face again. And I remember I tried to go after her, not knowing who she was, what was going on. I let out a growl trying to go after her. Of course, I couldn't move or anything. And after that, she saw how delirious I was, not knowing who she was. She ran out of the room and grabbed a nurse and said, we have to get him out of here now. And they're rushing me out. Come to find out, I had a 105.5 degree fever. I was 0.5 degrees away from frying my brain and becoming brain dead for the rest of my life if they couldn't get this fever down and figure out what was causing it. So now they've rushing me out to the hospital, the St. Barnabas Hospital, and my mom has to call my coach down in South Florida and let him know what's going on. And they were scared that I wasn't going to make it through the night. I remember my coach told me when they landed back up here in Newark, they were scared to turn their phones on because they didn't know what was going to happen, if I had pulled through and things like that. But I got over to the hospital, and they got me on medication and things like that. And I remember my coach and the athletic director came right over to the hospital. This is like 3:30 in the morning. And I woke up still in a delirious state because I still had the fever. They were going through a bunch of tests. The story I'm going to tell you is kind of crazy. It's kind of funny at the same time. But I woke up, and the first two people I saw were my sister at the end of the bed, and I saw my athletic director sitting in like this little doorway area with this like sheet just covering up the room that we were in. And I remember I said, "Hey Nicole, how you doing?" She goes, "Hey, how you feeling?" I'm like, "I feel good. Are we going to IHOP today?" And she turned back and looked at me. She goes, "Nah, we're not going to IHOP. You need to just relax." I'm like, "I want some pancakes. Like, are we going to IHOP?" And she goes, "Eric, we're not going to IHOP today. You need to really go to sleep. Like this, you're not in a good state right now." So I was like, all right, whatever. I got frustrated. So you know what? Let me get up, go for a walk, and blow off some steam. Of course, I couldn't go for a walk, but I tried to get up. I'm like, "Nicole, get off of me. I want to go for a walk." She goes, "Eric, I'm not on you. You can't go for a walk." I'm like, "Nicole, get off of me. I want to go for a walk." And you can actually saw like the fear in her face because she didn't think I knew what was going on, and I didn't. And I remember looking up at my athletic director, and he had this scary look on his face. It kind of scared me a little bit, but I got so frustrated I just threw my head back in the pillow, and I ended up just passing out right there, and I fell asleep for a little bit. Woke up, I guess, another hour or so later. I was finally in the room now, and I finally came down. They found some infection, and they gave me medicine. But I finally came to, and I felt better, and I woke up. I see my mom and my sister, sleeping on this little couch, leaning on each other. I look over, my coach is in the room, and he's knocked out too, and there's spilt coffee in between his legs right on the ground. So I'm like, wow. Look over at the clock, and it's 5:30 in the morning. So I realized, I'm like, wow, it's been a long night and things like that. So I didn't want to bother anybody now. Like I said, I started to feel better. So I was just checking out my surroundings, seeing where I was at in this new room. And the story I'm about to tell you now changed my life forever. As I'm sitting down in this room, my room was right outside the nurse's station, so the nurses can, if they needed anything, they can just come right in. But all of a sudden, I see this girl get rushed into the ICU right past my room. And all of a sudden, you see, mom, dad, aunts, uncles, grandmas come in. But then a bunch of kids your age right after that started to come in. You could tell, 15, 16, 17, 18 years old, all with concerned looks on their face. I'm like, I wonder what's going on. As things settled down a little bit, I overheard at the nurse's station that girl had a brain aneurysm, and she had a cancerous tumor in her brain and actually started to bleed out. So I'm sitting there like, wow, I'm like, that ain't a good situation. Say another hour or so goes by, now it's like 6:30 in the morning, and all of a sudden, all those same faces that I saw came in concerned, leaving. Everyone's leaving hysterical. All these kids, you're all your age, leaving hysterical. You see the family crying their eyes out, leaving. I'm like, wow. Like, this is terrible. Finally, everything settles down again, and I overheard that girl didn't make it through the night. And when I heard that, I said, you know what? Whatever I need to do, if I need to work hard, if I need to relax, if I need to pray, I'm going to do, because I don't want to have my teammates, my friends, my family ever have to leave the hospital after seeing, what happened to that girl and seeing all the people, like I said, your age, really it messed me up a little bit, seeing those people leave hysterically crying. So 5 days later, I was back at Kessler now, and now my story had kind of spread a little bit. It was in the news, it was on the radio, things like that. So when I got to back to Kessler, they kind of treated me like a celebrity, and I never had that celebrity treatment before. So it was funny. I would get to the gym, and everyone would be working out, going through their routines. Some people, laughing around, joking around. Some people serious. And as soon as I got there, it was like the record stopped playing, and everyone just turned and looked at me at the door like I was about to do a backflip as I came in or something. But I remember I just was like, all right, this is awkward. Let me just go up to the back of the room and do my therapy. And this went on for a solid 2 weeks. Everyone just staring at me. No one saying a word or nothing, but just stare at me as I go by and just stare at me as I do my therapy. But it is what it was at the time. I remember just going on for 2 weeks or so. But finally, someone had the courage to come up to me, and his name was Jermaine. He was 2 years older than me. I was 20. He was 22. So, we hit it off right away. He came over, was like, hey, E, what's going on? My name's Jermaine, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, hey, what's going on, man? Nice to meet you. Stuff like that. And hit it off right away. And I'm not going to lie, when I was at Kessler, Rutgers, they took care of me. They made sure I had everything I needed. They bought my flat screen TV up there. They brought my Xbox up there. They hooked it up. They had a satellite dish installed on top of my room so I could have cable and things like that. So they took care of me. So after therapy was over, Jermaine would come roll. He had his upper body, so he'll come rolling into my room, and he'll be playing the video games and everything. My room was the hangout room. Everyone wanted to be in there. He would be playing Call of Duty or FIFA or something. I'm telling him, you lucky my hands aren't working right now. I'll be killing you in Call of Duty, stuff like that. We really hit it off. That was my guy while we were there. And as time was going along, my friends came up there. They knew who Jermaine was, my family. My grandma was cooking collard greens for him on the weekends, stuff like that. He became part of my family. But as time went along, I realized, I'm like, this guy knows everybody I know, all my friends, my family. But I don't even know his story. So I finally had the courage to ask him what happened to him. And one of the craziest things I've ever heard in my life, he said one day he was walking, he started getting real fatigued in his legs and started almost trip over himself like he was losing his balance. So a week later, he actually lost control of his bowels and bladder and started to go to the bathroom on himself. So he went to the doctor, and the doctor gave him medicine for his bowels and bladder, but he told him that he needs to either lift weights more or lose some weight so he can start supporting his body weight. And he should have known that was a red flag there. I mean, he was a little bit overweight, probably about 5'8", 5'9", 200 pounds, but at that size, you could support your body weight. A month later, he actually worked at Newark Airport, and that was where his job was. He sat down to eat lunch one day, and he never got back up. They took him in finally to do the CAT scan and the MRI. Come to find out, he had a cancerous tumor growing right on the lower part of his spinal cord, which was cutting off all the signals from his brain down to his lower extremities, which is why he lost control of his bowels and bladders and his function in the walking. So they said the tumor was too big that if they did surgery on it, they would have to completely sever his spinal cord, which is cut through his whole spinal cord, and he'll be paralyzed from the waist down for the rest of his life. So they went and did the regular chemo and radiation now to try to shrink this tumor so he can try to get function back, anything a little bit, just try to give him, a better quality of life. So we stayed at Kessler for 5 months. I was there, and I remember some days he would be in it, he'll be in the room hanging out with us, and some days he'd be hanging out in the room falling asleep. But then time went along, he wasn't even coming out of his room. Some days he'd be in a hospital, back and forth. Things just took a turn for the worse. So I'm sitting there, I'm like, where's his mom and dad at during this whole thing? And finally they started to come around towards the end of our stay there. Met them maybe once or twice. I'm like, wow, he really didn't have a support system. So now it was my time to leave. It was March 28th. I got out of Kessler. I was moving down to my aunt's house for a little bit down in Jackson, New Jersey. I never really got to say goodbye to Jermaine, so I took a 2-week break of therapy, and I took 2 weeks off from my inpatient. And I was going to outpatient therapy, which is a lot more enhanced. We're working a lot more different muscles, a lot more harder to it, and it's a different part of the gym with different therapists and everything. So I took a 2-week break, and I came back on a Friday to do my evaluation. And as I came into the new part of the gym and everything, I look over, and there's a wheelchair clinic where people get fitted for their permanent chairs. And I see Jermaine, so I was like, "Oh, Jermaine, what's up, bro? How you doing?" And this and that. And he turns and looks at me with the blankest stare in the world, like he had no idea who I was. And we just didn't spend the past 5 months here in Kessler together and things like that. And I was just like, wow, you could tell things have taken a turn for the worse. You know, this obviously cancer spread. His eyes were all messed up. It was sad to see. So I went over and I did my evaluation, went through that, and I saw Jermaine left earlier before me, so I didn't really, say bye to him. So went and did my thing, and I left that day. I started back up on Monday now to do my therapy, but I stopped over at the wheelchair clinic to see how it went for Jermaine's chair. And I remember they said, I was like, hey, did Jermaine get fitted for that new chair? They're like, yeah, he got fitted for his chair, but unfortunately he passed away over the weekend. And I remember I said to myself, right then and there, I said, you know what? I will never complain about anything in this world again, and put a lot of things into perspective right there. I'm like, I got millions of people out here showing me support, wanting to do this for me, wanting to do that, bring me food, do this, whatever it is. This kid couldn't even get his mom and dad in there to cook him a home-cooked meal. He was wearing the same clothes 4 days in a row. Things like that made me say to myself, you know what? I really don't have it that bad. I may not be able to walk, but I got millions of people here supporting me and guiding me through this process, and made me realize, it's not all about taking. Everyone was always giving to me. It made me want to, it led me to start the foundation a few years later. As I said, Team LeGrand, the Christopher Dana Reed Foundation, and it's to find a cure for paralysis, to give people like Jermaine that have nobody there for them, give them hope that one day they can maybe walk again so they can take care of themselves and not need anybody there to help them. That's what made me want to give back to people. And people say to me all the time, how do you stay so motivated, so driven? I say, honestly, it's the people that reach out to me, the random people that I don't know on my Twitter, my Facebook, my Instagram, like, Eric, I ran 3 miles today because I know you'll do anything to run again. Or I went to the gym today because I know you'll do anything to be in the weight room. Or a little girl, I did my book report on you because I read your book and it inspired me. Makes me realize I am making a difference in this world and helping people out in their ways of life. Because in life, we're going to face some type of adversity. You could be 5 years old or you could be 55 years old. At some point in life, you're going to face some type of adversity. How you handle it is ultimately going to define the character of the person that you are. You got to face adversity, face on, and get through that situation. Lean on people to help you if you have them. If not, everyone's situation is different. But find a way to get through that adversity. And there's a definition that was embedded in our head at Rutgers that we had to repeat every single day with Coach Shiano. And it's the way I live my life, and it's the definition of success. And it's the peace of mind you get knowing you did everything you could to be the best you can be. I'll say it one more time. The definition of success. It's the peace of mind you get knowing you did everything you could to be the best you can be. Whether it's at football practice, whether if it's at your homework in your math class, whether if it's a quiz, whether it's your own for applying for a job, be the best you can be at that situation. And you should and if you know that you gave it your all at whatever it was, you should be able to lay down that night and put your head on that pillow and be like, wow, I really gave it my all. This is all I had left. And it's funny too, people always think when I got hurt that Rutgers automatically gave me my degree. I was like, I wish that they gave me that, but I had to go back and earn my degree. I only had 2 years completed at the time. So I had to start taking classes actually that January via Skype. I started taking classes, and somebody would take notes from me, and they would email them over. And I had this software called Dragon Natural Speaking where I had to talk to the computer, open things and things like that. I had to talk out a 5-page paper. Let me tell you, it's not easy to type out a 5-page paper than it is to talk out a 5-page paper. But hey, I found a way to get my degree in labor relations and graduated in 2014. So there's no excuse for any of you out there that have further your education, going to college. If I could do it without picking up my hand and writing my name on the paper, no excuses for any of you either. You guys can get it done. You just gotta, get it. You gotta believe in yourself and know that there is light at the end of the tunnel. And you will get there. But I just want to, leave you guys off with saying that I truly believe that I will walk again one day, and we're going to find a cure for this injury, whatever it is. But I was put here for bigger and better things than just playing the game of football. I feel like my purpose is to help kids like you and help people like you just to become better people. And as I said in that video, whenever it is, but I want to go back to that spot down that 25-yard line at MetLife Stadium, and I want to get up and I want to run, walk, crawl, whatever I can do, but finish that last play. And I'm going to continue to work hard and just go through life and enjoy life. Like I said, I have a newfound appreciation on it. You got to be happy with the things that you do have in life. And it's something that you want, then you work your butt off to get it. Be appreciative, because things can be taken from you in the drop of a dime. You never know. But if you work hard for things, you believe in yourself, you believe in the man above, anything is possible in this world. So thank you for letting me share my story with you guys. It's a great question. Yes, I still think about having a wife and children. I don't let this wheelchair hold me back from doing anything. I've had girlfriends past after this injury, things like that. Like I said, this wheelchair, may confine me because of my physical wise, but still don't let this hold me back from being the person I want to be, and having a wife and kids. That's still a dream of mine one day. So, yep. Like I said, don't letting this restrain me back from anything. I got two motivations. One being my mom, who's sitting right there in the front. She gave up everything for me when I first got hurt to learn how to be able to take care of, like I said, a quadriplegic, sleeping up at Castle with me on this little pull-out cot for 5 months. This is why her back is still messed up to this day. But, she learned how to take care of me, and being there is just that unconditional love and sacrifice. I want to be able to get better for her so she doesn't have to take care of her son for the rest of her life. I want to be able to do it myself. And also about this kid by the name of Adam Tafarella. Well, he's not a kid anymore. He's a grown man. But he got hurt playing for Penn State in 2000. He actually was going against Ohio State. He was a freshman, went to make a tackle. He was paralyzed, broke his neck right there. The doctors gave him the same diagnosis, told him, I'll never walk again, never do this, never do that. And, from there, he led his team out onto the field versus Miami Hurricanes a year and a half later, after the doctors told him that he would never do that. And when I first got hurt, the doctors told my mom, I wasn't in the room for this, but they told my mom that I would never walk again, I would never breathe on my own, I would never eat any solid foods again, and they were hoping I was strong enough to make it through the surgery. And I've overcame pretty much every one of those obstacles yet, except for walking again. And that's my dream, to be able to do the same thing that Adam did and lead my team back out the tunnel whenever that is. And I'm going to keep on working hard for that goal. Am I scared to play football again? If I could get up right now and be the same shape I was in 6.5 years ago, I'll go right back out there and play football. It's the game. The game of football has made me into the man that I am today. You think about it. And Pop Warner, you get maybe 8 to 10 opportunities to play the game. High school, 10 opportunities. College, you get 12. And if you're lucky enough to make it to the NFL, you get 16 opportunities to actually play the game. But you got all the hard work that goes into it, learning how to work as a team, learning to go through self-evaluation periods, learning how to handle adversity, learning to overcome adversity, overcome situations in football. It leads you, sets you up for life. It's the same thing that you learn, those skills that you have to practice day in and day out through football. You're going to have to go through life sometimes. If you lose a job one day and you're sitting there and you're supporting your family sitting there looking at you like, what are you going to do now? We need you. Are you going to give up on them? No, you find a way to get through the situation, and you find a way to support your family. Same thing in football. You don't give up on your team. So that's what I always say, that football has made me into the man I am today. So if I can get up and play, again, I would. And if I have kids one day, if they're going to give it their 100% effort and respect the game, go out there and play with the game of football also. How does my chair work? Great question. So technology is crazy. This thing in front of me, people ask me all the time, like, do you drink water out of that, or you breathe through this? It's actually a joystick. I actually just connect through the wires all the way into the motor of this chair and everything, but I just hit it into certain modes. If I want to drive, hit it up, down, right, left, just like you would with an Xbox controller. Or if I want to sit back, I can lean my seat all the way back, kick my feet up. If I want to raise up, I could raise this chair up till I'm like 5'10". I have elevators in my house, so I can open the doors in my elevators with this chair. Technology is crazy, I'll tell you that for sure. So this chair is pretty good. It's the Mercedes-Benz of wheelchairs, they say. So I'm hooked up over here, and I got it all blacked out. How has my daily routine changed? So when I was in college, it was You know, breakfast, practice, study hall, class, weight room, back practice, you know, just over and over doing that. Now, you know, it's a little bit different depending on the day. Most of the time, I usually get to sleep in, which is nice. Usually I wake up till like 8 or 9 o'clock, but I get up, answer a few emails, do stuff for my foundation or me personally. Then I got to usually head out to therapy. I have therapy now twice a week. It used to be 5 times a week, then 3 times a week, but now I'm in there Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I go from, I leave my house around 12:15, get there for 1 o'clock, go through a 2-hour session, get home by 4 o'clock, answer some more emails, stuff, depending on if I have a speaking engagement or if I have an event to go to at night, depending on it, but also have time for fun. I always block out time where I could travel. I love to have a good time. You know, like I said, I work hard all the time, but I love to be able to also have a good time and go to places like Miami or LA or Vegas, stuff like that. You know, I don't let this hold me back. And, you know, Coach Jack Al's been out with me before to Vegas. You know, we just don't, you got to enjoy life, man. You do. Don't let anything hold me back.
All right, last question. Anybody? All right, a couple people. I want you guys to make some noise, but first, always, you know, the one thing I love that Mr. LeGrand said, your first motivator is your mom. You know, you got a great mom like Mr. LeGrand, you got to say thanks. You got somebody out there that's like your mom, you got to thank them. So I want a big round of applause for his mom.